I serve as the catalyst or the bridge for Deception Beauty within the General Hospital storyline. So, Deception Beauty is all about what's new and hot. And the latest things in beauty actually are tools or products or lotions and potions that kind of do tricks. So everything has to have a multi-purpose. So it's no longer that you just have a lipstick or a blush. You need a product that is an eyeshadow and a blush and a lipstick all in one. And you need a product that is a foundation and a moisturizer and an SPF all in one. So when it comes to the latest in beauty products, it's really about tools and products that ultimately do many things at one time so that it's easier for people to enjoy them, for people to get dressed. It's kind of a no-brainer. So that's the latest, if you will, in beauty products.
Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people that say, okay, we around the world, we know where Canada is. British Columbia on the West Coast, right? Yeah, right. And in the West Coast, we have this big city called Vancouver, right? And we are 500 miles, or for our European friends, 800 kilometers north of Vancouver. And a town called Prince George. And so Prince George, about 85,000 people, about 120,000 people in the region. It is paradise, I call it, because there's lots of trees within 50 miles, 100 lakes at least all around us, and lots of nature around us. Black bears, grizzly bears, caribou, moose, deer, foxes, wolves, you name it, we have them all here. And we live in harmony, and it is paradise. Today, a very, very special podcast, and with a lady, and she's amazing. Her name is Paige, and Andy is a soap actress, podcasting host, guest host, beauty, lifestyle expert for the national and TV radio, with a current role as Pearl on the ABC General Hospital. Andy Paige mimics an actual QVC guest, and she has an amazing background and is very, very active. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I
appreciate your speaking.
You're such an amazing bio. I don't know where to start and where to stop. Tell us about you.
Well, yes, you are right. I am the latest cast member on the oldest running show in television history, which is ABC's General Hospital. I play the role of Pearl, and Pearl is a home shopping host, which mimics my real life job. I am a guest host on QVC. So some of your viewers or listeners may recognize me as someone who's been trying to sell them something on QVC over the years. But yes, my real life is actually mimicking, I'm mimicking that within the General Hospital storyline. So I am a guest host on Home and Heart, which is the fictional home shopping network on General Hospital.
So where did you film that, Andy?
It's in Los Angeles.
So you go back and forth a lot then?
Yeah. So I live in New York,
yes.
and on the East Coast. And yes, it's not that hard. The storyline is such that, you can basically shoot several days worth of episodes. As a matter of fact, they film so much, John, you can't even believe it. They film anywhere from 50 to 60 scenes a day. So it's very easy to go back and forth.
Yeah. So that is all part of how it works, right? And that kind of business. So tell us about yourself, because you are so unique in different ways. Tell us about where were you born, what was your background, your education, and then how did it work towards where you are today? You are an amazing individual in terms of your background, your bio, and if I may say that, I'm 84 years old. I turned 84 2 weeks ago, and I can say to you, you are beautiful, and you know that. I'm not making a pass at you. I'm simply saying you're beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, John, and congratulations. You are 84 years young, and you very much embody a spirit that I have. I want to live to be 100, and I can tell you probably have the same inclinations and determination. So I love that. I actually come from a very small town in Alabama, which, as far as you are north, that is where I am as far south. I was raised about an hour from the coast, the Gulf Coast, and I was, raised in very minimal and small terms. My grandparents raised me for the most part, and I am fortunate that I was raised a God girl. There was a lot of churching growing up, and I was raised to have a lot of faith, but God made me tall. And so by the time I was 10 years old, I was 5'11",
Wow.
which is, yeah, which was very awkward. So, for me, that gave me a lot of opportunity. So by the time I was 17, I was offered a modeling contract in New York, and I dropped out of high school. I got my GED and moved to New York. And I got into college and started a career in modeling. And I'm really fortunate. I now hold a double master's in media studies and broadcast journalism. And it's led to a really beautiful career in television. But it hasn't always been easy. But I've always walked in faith and curiosity. And so I have enjoyed successes in many fields. But it all basically is rooted in just my belief that, kind of God is my bud. And if I have faith and just try, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm a girl who has curiosity and is always willing to try something new.
What I found interesting that you said I was tall, 5'11", implying that that was not an asset, but more of a liability to you. Now, I was born in Holland in 1940, and so I'm just turned 84 2 weeks ago, actually, November the 1st. But the thing about Holland is that
Very tall.
very tall. And a lot of people say, and so that was always looked at by me as normal and usually looked at as beneficial. Even one of my granddaughters, who is still only 15 years old, is 14 actually, and she is tall. And I love it, and she loves it, and they love it because he's into handball and all of those kind of things where tall is important. What I say in Holland is that, as you likely know, 40-50% of Holland is below sea level, and the reason that they grow them tall is because nature makes sure that in order to stay above the waterline, you have to be tall. No, I'm just joking. I don't know, but
No, I do know that in Holland, in Holland, they're very tall. Dutch people are extremely tall and very handsome.
Well, thank you. I'm the exception because I was only 5'10" and a half or 11, So, yeah. So that's very interesting. And then, so if I look at your background, at a very early age, you indicated you left school and you got an opportunity to go into acting in New York. That was a major step for you to take because you were still relatively young at the time, 17, 18 maybe?
Yes, no, I moved to New York at 17, and to be honest with you, John, this is my very first acting job. I've never been on television in a scripted role. I have done, hundreds of episodes of television, but as myself, either as a broadcaster or through reality television. I have always been Andy Page. So this is the very first time that I have been required to say words that, Emmy-winning writers want me to say exactly as they wrote it. So this is my first time as an actress, which I love the fact that I'm 54 and this is my first time to act. I think it's been a lot of fun. I did take that one acting class in college, so it's really, paying off. But I don't feel like it's my last. I'm really enjoying it. The role that I have on General Hospital is building, so I'm thrilled that I still feel young and excited and eager to see what's next. People are like, "Oh, are you going to do a movie?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll do a movie." But this is my very first acting role.
So the interesting part, other that I see in you, you have confidence. Is very important. Not being overconfident, but you have confidence and you're a good presenter. And so those things are unique, but especially in your role now, those things are very, very important. That's why you are as successful as you are. Have you always been like that? Or, because going to New York in a whole, coming from Alabama in a whole different setting, all of a sudden you get into New York and you're 17, 18 years old, is saying, oh my God, how overwhelming can it be? And what do you do? And how is this all going to work? So it takes that, obviously you're very pretty, but the other thing that is going to take, you have to have that confidence and you have to be a good communicator and to kind of keep it all together to lead you to the road of success. How did this all happen? Is that part of it natural, or what is it?
No, John, it's all observation. So, yes, it's true. I've been someone who had a lot of confidence. I have a lot of skills. Growing up in Alabama, we are in kind of a hurricane belt where there's lots of hurricanes that come through. And I know this seems very awkward, but because I lived through so many hurricanes as a young person, as a result, you have to have a lot of skills. And so at the age of 8, I was given a chainsaw to go help cut down a tree. It's nothing for me to climb on a roof and lay, roofing tiles. It's nothing for me to crawl under the house and do plumbing. So I was given a lot of responsibility as a young child because everyone kind of had to pitch in. And I know that that seems a little awkward, but it does build a lot of self-confidence that you can fix it, you can do it, you can figure it out. So I did have that, but moving to New York at a young age really was about me observing and figuring out, okay, how can I maneuver successfully in this very glamorous world when I come from, barefoot beginnings on a dirt road in Alabama. And my grandmother used to make all of my clothes. And so my grandmother had this real belief that if I could visually portray implied value, that my clothes had implied value, that I could ultimately be perceived in a way that would have me fit in or have me, be perceived with a little more respect or received with more respect. And so I was basically taught the skills of deception, if you will, believing that not that I could fake it, but that if I observed and I saw what was important and I read the room and I could, learn from the people around me, that I could acclimate myself and very easily fit into whatever situation I was thrown into. But John, the other thing that I've always believed is that there is every situation. My goal is to make things a little better. So if I walk into a room and, something needs to be done or I see someone's in peril, it doesn't matter. Every situation, I just try to make things a little better. And believe it or not, that is a fabulous skill. So even if I'm in a room of people who are overeducated and make more money than me and, are just on a higher education level than I am, if I can still go in with the belief there's something to learn and I know that I can help every situation, that number one builds confidence, but it also makes people, they're endeared to you very quickly. So I figured out how to endear people to me. And that's basically how I did it.
I like that, Andy, and I feel the same as you do. It took me a long time, rather, to get there before, I was far beyond that. So let me give you just a little bit of my background. I was born in November the 1st, 1940, in Holland, and already you know from history that it was the worst was yet to come. But my parents were married in 1938. They were in love, and they my dad had a job in a lumber mill in Holland, and then they bought this or they rented this beautiful house, and fairly quickly they had a boy and a girl, and then and then all of a sudden, what happened? Adolf Hitler, the dictator in Germany, decided to invade Poland, and then from there and then decided to invade the rest of Europe. My dad then, in April of 1940, was drafted into the Dutch army, and it would take 5 years. The last time that they saw him was just before the bombing of Rotterdam, and it would take 5 years for my mom and the family to know if he survived. And so that was tough. And then the first thing that I remember, I was then born, my mom was pregnant with me. I was born November the 1st, 1940. And what I remember about the war is the planes overhead in 1943, 44. They had daytime, nighttime bombing of Germany. And again, visualize Holland. We were born in the northeastern part of the province, close to the border with Germany. And my mom at nights would take us outside on a flat roof behind our house to watch the planes, but not to watch them to like them, but she felt safer outside than inside. And there were hundreds of planes overhead. I still remember even now the sound. We'll never hear it again. 200, 300 bombers overhead, and in the distance we saw cities burning where the sky would be red, and cities like Bremen, Wilhelmshaven, Kiel, Hamburg, all those in the distance were burning when they were bombing them. And then the next thing that I remember was in 1944 in particular, and the Germans had decided to cut off all the food supply to Holland and the regions that we lived in. And so I remember every day we would go, the kids, my brother, my sister, 1 year and 2 years older than me, we would go with gunny sacks into the railroad yards and pick up anything edible and burnable. And the reason that we did as kids, because they wouldn't shoot us, they boot us one and we'd be back the following day. The other part that I remember is I can still feel now the feeling of hunger, even 80 years later. I can still feel that. And then the other part is 1944, 45, with the toughest, coldest winter in Holland in history. And we had this house in the little room that we tried to keep warm and sit around it as and then all the anxiety that would go with it, because it was war, and people were dragged out of their houses, and some of them never to return, others to go to work camps. So there was always that sense of anxiety. And then I remember April the 12th, 1945, we were liberated by the Canadian Army, and as you know, the Allied forces landed in Normandy in the summer of 1944, and then the Canadian Army pushed through France, and they then pushed through Belgium, and then alongside the coast of Holland into the north, and we were liberated April the 12th, 1945. And again, if you again visualize Holland, they had pushed the Germans all the way to the border, and they had virtually, the Germans had nothing left by the time they got there, blew up all the bridges behind them, and we were close to the border. So it was really, really tough there. A lot of people got shot. We saw far too much that we should not have seen. But then April the 12th, 1944, we were liberated by the Canadians. And then it made such an impression on me that I knew from that point forward, once I grew up, I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada. And I tried to...
I was thinking that must be why you're there. That's wonderful.
And so I tried to go when I was 17, and my parents wouldn't let me. I was too young. And then I was drafted into the Dutch Air Force, and then I went when I was 23. And so, and I've been here now for 60 years. And, so that was kind of my background. But the other one I should just add to that, I was not a success story academically. I failed grade 3, and I failed grade 7 3 times. So they said, what are we going to do with this kid? send them. Some people said to my parents, send them to the mentally challenged school. They said, no, we're not going to do that. And so, so then they said, well, maybe teach them a trade. So my dad obviously had involvement in lumber, and my grandfather was a master carpenter. They said, well, send them to the furniture factory. So at 13 years, I started working in the furniture factory. At nights, go to school, became a furniture maker. And then I had a dream that not only would I go to Canada, but I was going to prove to me, and kids can be hard on each other. If you fail grade 3 and then 3 times grade 7, all the friends that you had went to college and university, and I became a laborer. I'm proud of that today, but then it was kind of looked down on. So I had to prove to me that I was just as smart as all the others, not better than, but just as smart. And so my dream was to go to Canada and build a lumber mill. That's what I wanted to do. And so I did that in July of 1965, went on the plane to Canada, to Montreal, and then took the train, because the trees are in the West Coast, I believed, in British Columbia. So took the train 4 days, 5 nights. Oh my God, that's a long way. And then landed in Vancouver. Couldn't speak the language, didn't know soul, didn't have a job. Went to the immigration department, and I couldn't speak the language. But fortunately there was a German fella there, and I could speak some German. And I told him what I wanted to do. He said, go to Prince George. That's where the boomtown, that's where the building sawmills, that's where the opportunities are. So I did that. And then on the bus to Prince George, and I can still see here where the Greyhound station was. And I came off the bus, I took nothing, virtually. I had a suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and very little money. And when I came off the bus, I counted my money at least 3 times. Couldn't speak the language, didn't have a job, didn't know soul. I had $25.47. But I had lots of attitude, even then, that no matter what happened, I always thought tomorrow is better day. And that's always been my approach. I avoid negative. I always look for the positive, and that's what I still do today. Passion. Whatever I do, I give it 125%. And then the other one is work ethic. I work harder than anybody. Even still today, at 84, I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and then I always make my bed, and I always think I'm late. And that's what I do. I did, and then, okay, John, so what happened then? Well, I was a cleanup man, lumber pilot, all the other things. I did build my mill, and I probably have 10 different other companies and all of that, but it's not about that. But so from there on in, success was there for me, and still today, we're doing well, and obviously, not only that, and getting that confidence to me, I still didn't have that. Even when I already had all the companies, and people said to me, oh, you're so successful, and I didn't feel that way. And so it took me probably till the time that at one point here, I walked into a store, and I picked up a book, and I still have that book here now, actually, with me. And I don't know why I picked it up. The book's title is Driven to Distraction. This is the actual book that I picked up that changed my life. And what was it all about? ADHD. I had no idea what ADHD was. I never even heard of it. And the more I read about it, this is the book, and the more I looked it up in Google, the more I understood what it was. And I wrote in the book, actually, January 1997. This was written by Dr. Hollowell, the actual book. He is ADHD and has dyslexia, so do I. And he has written 18 books, 5 on distraction. He's probably an expert recognized around the globe on ADHD. So I wrote in the book at the time that I bought it, now I finally know who I am. But I wrote it in Dutch because I was ashamed of it in a way, because it was implying that there were mental issues. But to me, the more I found out about it, the more I realized it's a superpower. And so, and that's, and so that kind of changed my life. And although I was still successful in business, still kept building more additional businesses, but I started to write books about me and other things. And the first one that I wrote is Against All Odds. And it's not about how successful John is, but no, it's not about that. It's about the other ones, all the ups and downs along the way. And so been quite successful. And then the other one, ADHD to me is frequency of occurrence much higher than most people ever realized. It's probably may well be as high as 25 to 30% globally. And I wrote a book about that, ADHD Unlocked. And then I want to show you one more that I did, is that I'm into health and fitness, and I wrote a book about living young, dying old, and I want to be 120. And so, and that's a picture of me, and I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. And so, and so everything is possible. So that gives you a bit of me. And
amazing. We have a lot in common. I also have ADHD, and I'm also dyslexic.
Well, I love it. So, but it took me. Can you imagine, Andy? Is that this young boy, that already had gone through a lot of challenges in school, failed grade 3, failed grade 7 3 times. Although I was very good at writing and I was very good at numbers, but not good at the setting. But it would take me till the time that I bought this book in 1997. And so then I already I was 57 years old. And it took me 5 years before I would go to my doc, who had delivered our 2 daughters, and it was a personal friend, and he said, "Hey, John, why are you here?" I said, "I think I got ADHD." And so we checked out, and yes, I do. And so the example that I was going to say, can you imagine this kid, not quite 13 years old, it was July of when I was grade 7, not quite 13. I was still 12 in November the 1st, I would be 13. Go to a factory and being looked down at as somebody that maybe had mental challenges, although my parents always believed in me, and so did my sister and my brother. But it took me till I was 62 before I realized ADHD, 50 years. That's the reason that I'm not speaking about it a lot, but I always include it in presentations that I do, and more active about it globally, really. And that's why I wrote the book. Now, the other part I should just quickly mention is, the Dr. Halliwell that wrote this book in 1993. I bought it in 1997, and it changed my life. No question about it, of realizing. But the other part about it is that you are my podcast number 359, and then podcast number 203 on the Brink was an interview with Dr. Halliwell.
Oh, how fantastic. Congratulations. Wow. That's amazing.
And so what we said during and he's the expert, dyslexia as well as ADHD. And so when we had a discussion, I suggested to him, he's the expert, I'd lived it, but he's the expert, saying that from my experience, I believe that probably 20% of the globally male, female are probably ADHD. And he said, "No, John, probably more than 25%. I agree with them." Now, the other things in the time I had been in business, doing all the things that I do, being on board of directors, and you know how it goes. And I met a lot of people that are very, very successful and that are entrepreneurial. I suggested to Dr. Hollywell that from my experience, I believe that 50% of the successful, and the operative is successful, entrepreneurs and business people are ADHD. He said, no, John, probably 75%. And I agree with him. Anyway, so there you kind of have me.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a lot, and congratulations on a beautiful life lived. You are so inspirational, and I love that. I've never met anyone who wanted to live to be 120. I mean, I am determined to 100, but the fact that you want to do it to 120 is stick. So, what drives you to want 120? Because that's another what we're talking another 35 years.
Okay. Why not? So,
And
and
how are you going to do that? Tell me how, because I want to know.
so first and foremost, mentally, so everything is connected. So it took me a long time, and in all fairness, I must say this, Andy, it took me a long time to get there. My wife is vegetarian, and I didn't listen as well to her as I should and could have. I was not abusive on my body, but still, I didn't do as well as I could have. And then something happened that triggered things. I had a case of what they call diverticulitis. And for those, you familiar with diverticulitis?
Yes.
So, and for the people that are listening, is that usually, I'm not a doc, but usually when they say, oh, I got pain here on my right side, it could well be appendix. If you have it on your left side, potentially diverticulitis. And in my case, it was the colon and it ruptured. And so it was just not pain. Usually you change diet and then it gets better. In my case, very spontaneously, apparently, it ruptured. And it's a lot of pain, but I have a high threshold for pain. That's not good. And so I got into the hospital, quite in a delicate period. They took 20 centimeters out of my colon. And so the following morning, the doc came down and he said, hey, John, I'm just going to say to you, you came this close. And I said, oh, my God. And I realized that time is changing. By then, this was 2008, and I was already 68 years old. And I started to look at my diet, listening more to my wife, and I changed my diet. The other thing that I did before I was the same as a lot of other people is that I go, I'm going to work on my body, and it's the end of the year, and I'm going to do this, that, and I'm buying a membership to the gym. And then 2 weeks later, you can find 100 reasons that's why you're too busy to go to the gym. So I knew I had to change that, and I did. I hired a trainer, and I have, as you have, I have lots of meetings and commitments. I always make sure I meet my commitments, and I did that, and I started that when I was 68. Worked out for about 6 years, and then one day somebody came up to us, and I do it as I give it all that I got. That's my passion, is that, and somebody came up and said, hey, John, have you ever thought about competing? I said, me? Really? Yeah. And I said, okay, why not? So I did that. And then so 2017, 18, I started competing first in Northern British Columbia, bodybuilding and physique. Came in second bodybuilding, third in physique. And that was 55 and older. They could have been my kids that I was competing against. And that qualified me for the provincials, came again about the same. They qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds. And then COVID came. And so now again, I'm training for when I'm 85, again going to the Arnolds, and that's me today. And I'm training very hard, and so it gives me a goal, and I know it can be done if you make the commitment. And in terms of diet, I'm very careful about my diet, and I'm in good shape, but being I'm probably, I would call myself a vegan, probably 90-10, nearly a vegetarian. So, but I'm very conscientious. I'm very conscientious about my body, and my wife is a big help because she is very committed to all of that. So, and then at the same time, what I'm saying is that, and answering your question, how do you get there? So I'm very careful about my diet. I need to understand it. I go to the gym. I will be going to the gym after this podcast, and staying in shape. And I'm getting ready for competing starting in I think March or April of next year provincially, and then hopefully qualify for the nationals in the Arnolds. And I'm sure I will get there. But so that's kind of what I'm doing. And at the same time, all the things that I do, my foundation is attitude, passion, work ethic. That's what I do every day. Every day to me is I enjoy what I do through all the ups and downs, and I do the same as you do. Is that it's infectious. I attract people that want to be positive, and I will not be dragged down by negative. So I always stay positive, and I believe all of that in combination is important.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. If you can eliminate the negative, that goes a long way to giving you more years to your life, but also bringing more happiness to your life. I don't allow a lot of negativity in my life for sure.
And at the same time, then what we do is that the together with my wife, we have a place. If I'm here in northern British Columbia and I have 10 different companies, I've been working 7 days a week, and I did that for about 30 years. I don't do that now. So on Friday afternoons, I go to Victoria, and we have a house there, and then we have our 50-acre farm. We have the horses, and I have a whole different view on what we do. I work on my books and enjoying life, and then on Mondays I go back usually to either Vancouver or to Prince George, and so that works for me.
That's beautiful. I love where you are. Vancouver and Victoria Island is probably one of the most magical places I've ever experienced in my life.
It is. And every time I fly around, and that applies to, we do a lot of business in the United States as well. And obviously, I've been there during the war years. I still, as a kid, remember not only the war years, but what follows. And some people, respectfully, that feel that if there is war, then after the war is over, everything goes back to normal. No, that's not the way it works. It may take generations before it ever gets back to a sense of normal. And I believe that what we have here in North America, looking at the United States and Canada, and I fly around a lot commercially, I always sit by the window and I always say it's paradise. It is absolutely paradise. We are so lucky as to what we have and what it can be. And all you have to do is look at Eastern Europe in particular, and then the Middle East and some of all the other places, Iran, Ethiopia, Sudan, and on in South America. How lucky we are.
It is true. We are in the land of plenty, without a doubt.
So I have some other questions for you. So this is what that we are ready. And what are the hottest beauty trends today?
Ah, well, being how I came to be Pearl on General Hospital is a little unusual. Um, I come from a reality television background, and within the General Hospital landscape, there has been, for the past 30 years, the storyline of Deception Beauty. And Deception Beauty is a cosmetic company that's run by these amazing women. And when they decided to bring Deception Beauty to life and create actual products and not just fictional products that people could consume, they decided that the way to do it was to create the products and then bring it to Shop Home and Heart, which is the fictional home shopping network. And then we would launch the products that way. So I serve as the catalyst or the bridge for deception beauty within the general hospital storyline. So, deception beauty is all about what's new and hot. And the latest things in beauty actually are tools or products or, lotions and potions that kind of do tricks. So everything has to have a multi-purpose. So it's no longer that you just have, a lipstick or a blush. You need a product that is an eyeshadow and a blush and a lipstick all in one. And you need a product that is a foundation and a moisturizer and an SPF all in one. So when it comes to the latest in beauty products, it's really about tools and products that ultimately do many things at one time so that it's easier for people to enjoy them, for people to get dressed. It's kind of a no-brainer. So that's the latest, if you will, in beauty products. When it comes to fashion, I'm very happy to tell you that fashion has really, the pendulum has turned. I know we've talked a lot about COVID. Or not a lot, but we've touched on it. And COVID was really a time where, people were all about cocooning and comfort and staying at home and ultimately kind of living in their pajamas from the waist down. But I'm happy to tell you that fashion has really taken on a rebirth and people are really interested in getting dressed again. And so there's a return to structure and beautifully made clothes and beautiful accessories, and old world glamour is definitely back on the landscape when it comes to fashion. And I love that because I'm a glamour girl, and I hated the fact that people were going to work in their pajamas. So I'm very happy that people are getting dressed once again.
I like that, Andy. Now, the other part is, and we already have discussed this, what 3 things can I do to look 10 years younger? People ask.
For you, yeah. For you, you are doing that, John. Eating well, of course, is one of them. And there's lots of things that you can do for your health to help you look 10 years younger. However, there's a lot of things for your image that you can do as well. Because what happens, John, and I don't think this applies to you, but perhaps it will apply to some of your listeners, is we tend to get stuck in a period of time where we felt the most celebrated, we felt the most successful, we felt the most empowered, and we got the most compliments. And, for some people, maybe that was like in the 1980s. And so when they shop, they're shopping for looks and styles that reflect when they felt the most powerful. Do you know some of those people?
Oh, yeah. I
They're
do.
kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you want to do is, very much what you practice is you want to stay curious, you want to stay engaged with fashion, and you want to stay relevant. Because when you are stuck in a generation, what you're basically telling, everyone in your sphere is that, you're not open to change, you're not open to evolution, that you're not paying attention. So what you want to do to look 10 years younger, especially right now, is you want to think about, okay, do my jackets need to be tailored? Because, wearing something oversized can, really date you. You want to think, all right, am I wearing the most fashion forward hairstyle? And another big one that people get stuck on is glasses. So you have very modern glasses, but a lot of people can get stuck in their glass shape or frames. And yes, you have very modern glasses, which I love. But that is, one thing that you can do immediately that will update, elevate, and give the appearance of, someone who is curious and much more interested in being relevant.
So I love what you're saying, because I say if you're an old guy, don't look like an old guy. Be and project yourself with energy. Now, everybody cannot do that, but if you careful with your diet, you go to the gym, you don't have to become a bodybuilder on the Arnold's. That's not the point that I'm making. At least do what I did. And a lot of people, even at 40 years and older, they said, I'm too old. Is that no, you're never too old. Watch out for your diet, that you get your weight under control, you look fit, and go for walks. Even if you start walking half an hour, 3/4 of an hour today. Find a partner. If you have difficulty, do it on your own. Make it a commitment, and you know what will happen. all of a sudden, if you do that, you watch out for your diet, and then people will come up to you and say, "Hey, Andy," or "Hey, John, you look great." Yeah, and so what are you doing? It's saying, well, no, I diet and blah blah blah, and so that's what will happen, and then you feel good, and then also mentally become positive, avoid the negative, and that's easier said than done, but it is a combination of all of that, and then you will portray your age, and it will not be you're old. If you tell everybody that you're old, and but it does not have to be that way. And but I usually say, if I give presentations, especially to young people, that a couple of things are very important. It took me a long time to get there, but I had to find, who am I, and to reconcile that with me. It took me to that book and finding that ADHD was the trigger for me, and then the confirmation I have ADHD, and I already was successful and all the other things, but I did not believe it. And so I had to get to, who am I? I did that. Now, in the other part that I say, if I make presentations, which I do, to young people, maybe high school, high schools, that may be university, colleges, whatever, I always say there is only one of you on this earth. Only one. There is not anyone other than you. And you are special. And not better than, but you are special as to who you are. Too many people are too preoccupied. This is not quite right. That's not good. This is not right. This is not right. That's not right. No, you know, come at peace with who you are, and then feel confident and portray yourself mentally, at least in your mind, and then you're on the way to become successful. And then I'm not sure you should wait as long as I did, but I still haven't, as you indicated, another 35 years left. So
I love that you have 35 years left and that you want to be relevant and you want to look as if you are engaged with life. And that's really what, I know that you come at it from a health perspective, but with me being a beauty and style expert, I believe that, makeup, wardrobe, those are all tools at our disposal. And of course, diet and exercise is huge, and that's also a tool, but we literally have these tools that we can use in our toolbox that will help shape the perception that we are giving, that will really help shape, what we're saying to the world. And so to avoid that or to ignore those tools is really a lack of responsibility, because they are absolutely things that we can do every day. And, the other thing that I talk about a lot is organizing your closet. And there's so many of us, John, who only utilize about 20% of our wardrobe. And so what we have hanging in our closet is a lot of failure. It's people that we aren't anymore. It's money that we've wasted. It's clothes that we can't fit into anymore. It's parties that we don't go to anymore. So by organizing your closet, and, I like to break it down into 4 basic piles as you're going through your closet. You take a few hours and you want to have a donate pile. You want to have a contemplate pile. You want to have a recreate pile, and you want to have a fits me great pile. The donate pile are those things that you're going to donate and get the tax deduction. That goes away. The contemplate pile are those things that you're going to hang at the end of your closet. If you haven't utilized them in a year, then they move into donate. The recreate pile are those things that need to be adjusted, altered, or in some way tailored so that they fit your body and that you are getting the most out of them. And then the fits me great pile is really the only thing that should go back in your wardrobe. And then those fits me greats are going to be your wardrobe workforce that help you, give you the muscle, give you the confidence every day to do your best, to linger longer in conversation, to look people in the eye, and to look great doing it. Because your wardrobe, everything that you put on, is one more piece of the confidence puzzle.
I love it. So Andy, we can go on for another hour, but I want to make sure that I'm in time here. So before the end, and I ask you for comments at the end as well, I would suggest to all the people watching us from around the world that if you got a website or that people can kind of check what is Andy doing, maybe just give that to us. We'll make sure we'll listen.
AndyPaige.com is where you can find all things about me, AndyPaige. My book is called Style on a Shoestring, and it's really about how to look like a million without spending a fortune, how to really create that perceived value that doesn't mean you are wasting your money, but still help you feel confident and relevant. And, I, of course, have services. You can find me on QVC. I also developed a product called the Girly Go Garter, which is a hands-free purse you wear on your leg. So there's lots of things that you can find out about me at AndyPaige.com.
If you got a copy of your book handy there, you can show it to us.
I do. Let's see here. Yep, right here. Here we go. Style on a Shoestring. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So, show it a little bit to your left or your right. Oh yeah. So, okay. So, and that is available on all the major book selling areas.
It is. It's available everywhere. It's in 3 languages and available in 14 countries.
And Audible?
Yes, absolutely Audible. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so that's excellent. Now, for all the people watching us from around the world, it's an amazing podcast. Is that I would, if you want to see more podcasts with Andy, myself, and other guests that we may both have in some form or fashion, subscribe to our podcast, check on it, share it with others, like it, make comments on it, and that will encourage us both to do more of the podcast and and have stories like this between us. And maybe give us some last comments before you go, Andy, about this podcast.
Well, I have to say you are an absolute inspiration. I want to be 84 and doing podcast and bodybuilding and building my business and enjoying life on the level that you are. I find you a true inspiration, and I'm so glad it's taken us a long time to get to this point. I've wanted to be on your podcast for some time, and you are as wonderful in person as I was expecting. So I'm grateful that you chose me to be a part of this incredible endeavor that you're a part of with regards to the podcast. And I'm grateful to have spent this time with you.
Thank you very much, Andy. And I'll let you go. You get ready for the other one. And this was an inspiration for me. I love you. Take care. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Let's make sure we talk again. And so we'll make a mark in our next 6 months or so. We'll touch base again and see if we can do an update podcast.
I would love that. Thank you so much. Blessings to you.
Thanks, Andy. Take care.